We reviewed the archetype of the King and its arsenal of nuclear level weapons. We reviewed the archetype of the Shooting Star and its collection of iconic star dragons. Oh no, they got new support. Now, we look at the archetype of the Queen, the Black Rose Witch, the Benchwarmer. Wow. Post-Dark Signers Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds was not kind to Akiza, was it? Then again, who was it kind to? Akiza Izinski was the female protagonist of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, a very interesting character with a troubled past and a sweet character arc, at least until she got sidelined from the plot forever after the Dark Signers arc. Akiza utilized a plant-based deck with a plant-based dragon, Black Rose Dragon, and unlike Red Dragon Archfiend and Stardust Dragon, I can actually fit every piece of support for this dragon onto the back of a McDonald's receipt. For the sake of my sanity, we are going to stick to exclusively reviewing Rose cards, because I can't afford to let this video go on for too long. Oh, no! We are going to stick exclusively to Rose Dragon cards, as well as some cherry-picked cards from the Rose archetype. Please don't let too many of them in. The poster boy, or girl, or gender unspecified icon of the archetype is Black Rose Dragon, a level 7 Fire Dragon generic synchro monster with 2400 attack, 1800 defense, and the following effect. When this card is synchro summoned, you can destroy all cards on the field. Once per turn, you can banish one plant monster from your graveyard, then target one defense position monster your opponent controls, change that target to face up attack position, and if you do, its attack becomes 0 until the end of this turn. So, to get it out of the way, the second effect is mediocre and will likely not be used more than once per solar cycle. The first effect though, good lord. This effect is so good. Synchro summon into a full field nuke. There's a reason why Black Rose is so iconic. The card is the staple of the deck even now over a decade after its release, and it's one of the most legendary synchro dragons of all time, right up there with Stardust and Red Dragon Archfiend. The generic summoning condition means that any deck that can make a level 7 synchro can spit out a field nuke, and if you use something like Clear Effector as a material, the Black Rose will survive the self-destruction. However, you'll find quite a lot of the support cards in the Black Rose archetype revolve around your dragon coming back from the graveyard after it's destroyed, so you don't need to worry about being left defenseless in most cases. In terms of relating this dragon to its wielder, like I did for Stardust and kinda for RDA, Akiza used to have an explosive temper, lashing out at the world that hurt her, just like how Black Rose shows up and destroys everything upon arrival. The second effect... I'm sure there's a video essay out there somewhere that explains that. The visual design of this card is also very good, being a fearsome yet pretty flower dragon. It even has the black and the rose, unlike the blue eyes not white dragon. Anyways, Black Rose Dragon is incredible, and the centerpiece of the deck for a damn good reason. And now we move on to the main deck monster lineup. Bear in mind that this archetype is hardly considered an archetype even by the Geneva Convention, so the order I go over these monsters is going to be more of a feeling than an actual structure. First off on the list is Red Rose Dragon, a level 3 Dark Dragon tuner with 1000 attack, 1800 defense, and this effect. If this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can special summon one Rose Dragon monster from your hand or deck except Red Rose Dragon. Then, if it was sent for the synchro summon of Black Rose Dragon or a plant synchro monster, you can also add one Frozen Rose or one Blooming of the Darkest Rose from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Red Rose Dragon once per turn. This card is limited in the TCG as of right now, and I'm not entirely sure why, but he probably had something to do with it. If you use this card to summon a plant synchro monster or BRD, you not only get to special summon another Rose Dragon free of charge, of which there are only 3 to choose from and they're all solid options, but you also get instant searching of one decent support card and one tag-along. It's a real shame this card is limited, because it's a fantastic support card for this deck. But then again, that's probably why it was limited. It wasn't just good support for this deck. Roxrose Dragon is a level 3 Dark Dragon tuner with 1600 attack and this effect. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one card that specifically lists Black Rose Dragon in its text from your deck to your hand, except Roxrose Dragon. While this card is in your graveyard, if a face-up Rose Dragon monster or plant synchro monster you control is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, you can add this card to your hand. You can only use each effect of Roxrose Dragon once per turn. Once again, a pretty sweet card, if not quite on the level of Red Rose. You get a total of 6 cards to search, only a couple of which are actually worth it, and the recovery is fine, but ultimately mediocre, seeing as it only triggers off of the opponent's destruction effects, in an archetype where the main monster commits nuclear seppuku upon summon. That seems like a bit of an oversight. That being said, Rox Rose Dragon is a great option to special summon off of this next monster on our list, White Rose Dragon. It's a Dark Dragon level 4 with 1200 attack, 1000 defense, and this effect. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon one Rose Dragon monster from your hand or graveyard, except White Rose Dragon. You can only use each of these effects of White Rose Dragon once per turn. If you control a Dragon Tuner or Plant Tuner, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is sent to the graveyard as a Synchro material, you can send one level 4 or higher plant monster from your deck to the graveyard. This is the card that you use to climb into your Black Rose Dragon. Summons another monster upon summon, or special summons itself, allows you to mill plants with useful graveyard effects. It's all around a great card. You normal summon this, special summon Rox Rose, add a later spell card we'll mention later, set that card, summon Black Rose, blow up everything, and revive Black Rose off of the set card's destruction. Again, we'll get to that later. That's a combo off the top of my head, but there's definitely more potential. The milling effect has a few decent targets, like the Carrot Weight World Champion, and you can even make a rank 4 if you summon the other level 4 Rose Dragon off of White Rose's summon effect. You probably won't be doing that, but information never killed anyone, except for that one guy. Run some White Rose, it's a good dragon. Our final main deck Rose Dragon is Blue Rose Dragon. It's a level 4 Dark Dragon with 1600 attack, 1200 defense, and when this card on the field is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can target one Black Rose Dragon, or one plant monster in your graveyard, special summon that monster. Right, so this card on paper looks pretty mid. Except, it's not on paper. It's on cardboard. And it's still pretty mid. But it does have its uses. Obviously, you're meant to blow this thing up with Black Rose Dragon to special summon your dragon back from the graveyard right afterwards, assuming you get the timing right. Ideally, you special summon this thing off of Red Rose's material effect, meaning it's a pretty easy way of ensuring you have a monster to take advantage of the nuke effect. Blue Rose is definitely the weakest Rose Dragon of the bunch, a testament to the card's age, but it's a fine one-off I find. We're finished with the lineup of dragons, but now we have to look at Witch of the Black Rose. It has 1700 attack, 1200 defense, it's a Dark Spellcaster Tuner, level 4, and has this effect. Cannot be special summoned. If this card is normal summoned, and you control no other cards, draw one card and show it. Then, if it is not a monster, send it to the graveyard. Also, destroy this card. The ideal play with this witch is to draw Rose Fairy, a level 3 non-tuner plant, who will then be special summoned off of its own effect, and let you make Black Rose Dragon with a 2-card combination. Sadly, the chances of that happening naturally are about as rare as finding a Ruby hater who doesn't have a side hobby in homophobia. But nowadays, Witch of the Black Rose is part of a set with this little munchkin, Ruddy Rose Witch. It's a level 1 light plant tuner with 800 attack, 1700 defense, and the following effect. You contribute this card, add one Witch of the Black Rose from your deck to your hand, and if you do, take one level 3 or lower plant monster from your deck, and then place it on top of your deck. Then, immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon one Witch of the Black Rose from your hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard, return one of your Black Rose Dragon or Ruddy Rose Dragon that is banished or in your graveyard to the extra deck. You can only use each effect of Ruddy Rose Witch once per turn. This card is a traditional, look at this card. It doesn't really work with that anime consistency, so here's a support card to make it actually function. And, as far as those kinds of cards go, Ruddy Rose is pretty good. It's an easy first turn trigger for Witch of the Black Rose, and it enables some minor recycling, with the recovering from the banish zone being particularly relevant. Plus, it's a level 1 tuner, and summonable off of 1-for-1. Unfortunately, if you get Ash Blossomed off of the first effect, you may as well retire and go play Magic the Gathering, because there's not much in Yu-Gi-Oh! That will make you feel worse than that. If you run one witch, run the other. They're a good pair. Reaching back into the Synchro lineup, we have Garden Rose Flora. It's a level 5 light plant Synchro tuner with 800 attack, 1600 defense, it's generic, and has this effect. You can target one card in the field zone, destroy it, then special summon to its controller's field one Rose token, plant, dark, level 2, attack 800, defense 800, in attack position. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except Synchro monsters. You can only use this effect of Garden Rose Flora once per turn. Once per chain, during your opponent's main phase, you can, quick effect, immediately after this effect resolves, Synchro summon using this card you control. Field spell pop into an easy Black Rose summon on your opponent's turn. What? Did you want me to expand on it further? It's basically what the card is telling you to do. The field spell pop could potentially hurt your opponent, but really you're meant to do it to your own field, because this deck has a few field spells to choose from. It might be worth running one copy of Flora, but she's hardly a staple of your playstyle. In a similar vein, we have Garden Rose Maiden. Same level, type, and conditions as Flora, except this time it's not a tuner, and it's a Dark Synchro monster this time, with 1600 attack and 2400 defense. If this card is special summoned, you can add one Black Garden from your deck or graveyard to your hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one Rose Dragon monster or one Dragon Synchro monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only use each effect of Garden Rose Maiden once per turn. This card is a little more situational. If you don't run Black Garden, this card is useless as a monster. The graveyard effect is far more useful, but you've got to get it there in the first place, which this deck doesn't have an in-archetype way to do. I think that the two Garden Rose monsters are a couple of decent monsters for what they do, but what they do isn't particularly impressive. As mentioned before in previous videos, the Sign of Dragons all had manga dragon equivalents. So here's Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. Same everything as the original, except now it's light attribute, and the effect is as follows. If this card is special summoned, or a level 5 or higher monster is special summoned to your opponent's field, target one special summon monster your opponent controls. Return that target to the hand. You can only use this effect of Black Rose Moonlight Dragon once per turn. A very useful card indeed. Bouncing is always a useful form of removal, especially as it forces your opponent to play around your Black Rose Moonlight, lest you bounce their freshly summoned boss monster. A more unconventional use of this card was special summoning it off of Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon's Tribute ability, quickly bouncing an opponent's monster on their turn, or using it as a level 7 synchro along with a level 1 tuner to go into a Crystal Wing. While I prefer the nuke effect of the original Black Rose, Moonlight certainly has utility, and is worth considering to run in a deck that can make use of it. Ruddy Rose Dragon is a generic level 10 fire dragon with 3200 attack, 2400 defense, and the following effects. If this card is synchro summoned, you can banish all cards from the graveyards. Then, if this card was synchro summoned using Black Rose Dragon, or a plant synchro monstrous material, you can destroy all other cards on the field. When your opponent activates a card or effect that would destroy a card, you can tribute this card, negate the activation, then you can special summon one Black Rose Dragon from your extra deck or graveyard. Also, that's a quick effect. This card may not be Red Supernova Dragon or Shooting Quasar Dragon, but it is still a solid upgrade to Black Rose Dragon, and a welcome addition to the deck. Graveyard emptying on summon to shut down those decks that use it as a second hand, which is basically every deck, and a field nuke if you summoned it with Black Rose Dragon or a plant synchro, which is what you're meant to do in the deck, perhaps using the earlier mentioned Garden Maidens. The fact that it banishes the graveyards then destroys everything is a strange order of effects, but they're still both good effects, so I can't complain too much. The Stardust style negation into summoning Black Rose Dragon is also a very cool idea, but there are two factors that bring it down. For one, you won't be summoning Black Rose Dragon from the graveyard because you just banished everything upon this dragon's summon. For two, why is it not treated as a synchro summon? Can you imagine negating destruction only to summon a field nuke and blow everything up, but this time on your terms? That would be an awesome play. All that said, Ruddy Rose is definitely still worth climbing into off of Black Rose, and in addition, it has no summoning restrictions, so you can revive it very easily using the various cards in your archetype that summon your Rose Dragons. It's a good card, it's just sad to see how much destructive potential was there and potentially wasted. That being said, we still haven't seen that majestic Rose Dragon yet. Crossroads Dragon is the last monster in the archetype, and it's a Link 2 dragon with 800 attack, points down and left, and requires 2 monsters with different types. During the main phase, quick effect, you contribute this card, and one plant monster, special summon one Rose Synchro monster or one plant synchro monster from your extra deck. This is treated as a synchro summon. If a monster you control is destroyed by card effect while this card is in your graveyard, except during the damage step, you can banish this card, special summon one Rose Dragon monster from your graveyard. You can only use each effect of Crossroads Dragon once per turn. All things considered, this is a pretty good card. Assuming you can make it while keeping a plant monster on the field, you get instant access to any plant synchro monster. Yes, all 8 of them. Or more likely, Black Rose or Ruddy Rose with their synchro summon effects. The revival ability serves as either a recovery option or a way to bring back your Black Rose after its own self-destruction, letting you swing for 2400 damage at your now defenseless opponent. It's a simple batch of effects that work together well, provided you can manage your resources. Run a copy or two, it's worth it. Moving on to the spell and trap lineup, we first have Frozen Rose. It's a quick play spell card that says, send one face-up monster you control to the graveyard. Apply this effect depending on the type it had on the field. Plant. During the end phase of this turn, draw 2 cards, then discard 1 card. Non-plant. Add 1 level 4 or lower plant monster from your deck to your hand. You can only activate 1 Frozen Rose per turn. It's a decent card. It's a quick play, so if you manage to use it on the opponent's turn, you'll get a decent draw and discard, setting you up with more resources for your next turn. Or you get immediate instant searching of any plant monster you might need. The cost is a bit annoying because sending a monster to the graveyard as opposed to tributing them means that you can't cheat the first effect with rose tokens, and sometimes you just won't have the resources to sacrifice, but at the very least it's a nice consistency boost. Worth it as a one-off in my opinion. Basal Rose Shoot, I hope I pronounced that right, is another quick play spell that says special summon one Rose Dragon monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. If the set card is destroyed, you can target one of your Black Rose Dragon or one monster that lists that card in its text that is banished or in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only use each effect of Basal Rose Shoot once per turn. I give this card a fair bit of credit. It's searchable off of Rox Rose and instantly revives or special summons a Rose Dragon monster, allowing for more swarming or effect triggering. The ability to special summon monsters from the banished zones is a nice complement to Ruddy Rose Dragons on summon effect. And of course, there is the earlier mentioned combo I said, involving White Rose and Rox Rose. There's definitely a fair bit of versatility from this one card, so I definitely recommend 2 or 3 of them. Moving to an anime original card for the first time in quite a while, we have Thorn of Malice. It's an equip spell that says equip only to Black Rose Dragon or a plant monster. It gains 600 attack. If the equipped monster attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. If the equipped monster attacks a monster, after damage calculation, the attack monster loses 600 attack and defense. An opponent's monster that battles with the equipped monster cannot be destroyed by that battle. It's definitely not a bad equipped spell all things considered. Tolerable attack boost, piercing damage, but the inability to destroy monsters by battle is a little irritating. I get it's supposed to keep the monster around so it keeps getting weaker and you can keep progressively doing more damage, a nod to Akisa's sadism in early 5Ds, but in the modern game you want to take resources away from your opponent, seeing as that weakened monster can just be extra decked away in the next turn. Not really worth running in a modern BRD deck, at least in my opinion. Next up on the list we have... No, not doing it. I'm not talking about this card. Matt, you need to come out. Talk about the card. No, too many effects. Too much versatility. Too many points to cover. I'm not qualified for this. Matt, you can't hide away from it. It's not even a Black Rose card. I shouldn't have to do this. There's free Primogems out here. Black Garden is a field spell card with this effect. If a monster is normal or special summoned face up, except by the effect of Black Garden, halve its attack, then the controller of that monster special summons one Rose token, stats mentioned earlier, to their opponent's field in attack position. This attack loss remains even if this card leaves the field. You can target one monster in your graveyard with attack equal to the total attack of all plant monsters on the field, destroy this card and as many plant monsters on the field as possible, then, if you destroyed all of them, special summon the targeted monster. This is... it's certainly one of the cards of all time. It cuts everybody's attack value in half while acting as a constant token spawner, and it comes with generic revival after some field build-up. Let's see here. Searchable by Terraforming, Metaverse, and Garden Rose Maiden. Summons tokens to your opponent's field that you can blow up to summon Black Rose, Flora, or Maiden, given it's easiest to work in multiples of 800. You can blow up the tokens with Fragrant Storm to draw a card. You can use this card to get tokens onto your field for Synchros or Links if you use Kaiju monsters. It provides tribute material for the effects of Titanial, Princess of Camillus. You can use Rose Tentacle's effect a little more easily. You can consult the Yu-Gi-Oh! Wiki tips page. On the other hand, if you can't blow up the tokens, you've given your opponent free Link material or Synchro material. If you can't match the multiples of 800, the revival effect effectively does nothing. You've cut your attack power in half with each summon. If you can't destroy every plant monster, your revival won't go through. There is so much back and forth with this card that I think H Bomber Guy should make a video essay about it. There's certainly a lot of use you could get out of this card, but I'm not qualified to tell you about it. I failed the Ancient Alchemy class at Duel Academy, what can I say? Run Black Garden if you think you can get some use out of this thing, as field spell cards in Black Rose Dragon decks do actually serve some purpose. White Rose Cloister is the other field spell in the Black Rose archetype, and it has the following effects. If you control no monsters, you can special summon one Rose Dragon monster or one plant monster from your hand. You can only use this effect of White Rose Cloister once per turn. During your draw phase, before you draw, you can declare one card type, monster, spell, or trap. Reveal the top card of your deck, and if it is the declared card type, apply this effect for the rest of this turn, even if this card leaves the field. Level 7 or higher synchro monsters you control gain 1000 attack. This is definitely my preferred field spell card over Black Garden, thanks to the positive effects and not needing to destroy anything in order to special summon your monsters. The attack boost can be pretty nice, considering Black Rose Dragon becomes a 3400 attack monster, and considering that the effect lasts for the entire turn regardless of if the field spell blows up or not, it could turn Ruddy Rose Dragon into a 4400 attack beater, enough to destroy even the most heavily forest boosted Perfectly Ultimate Great Moths. If you want to run a field spell, this is what I'd recommend over Black Garden. The last card we have to talk about today is the deck's only trap card, Blooming of the Darkest Rose. Special summon Rose tokens, stat mentioned earlier, in defense position to either field up to the combined number of cards in the field zones and field spells in the graveyards. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target one Black Rose Dragon or one plant monster in your monster zone, banish it, and if you do, place this card on the bottom of the deck. During the next standby phase, return that banished monster to the field. You can only use this effect of Blooming of the Darkest Rose once per turn. This is not that good. You summon Rose tokens you can use for synchro summons or link materials, provided you either pitch several field spells or your opponent plays Tremors. You can even summon them to your opponent's field, if you want to lose faster. The fact that the ability to banish then return a monster isn't a quick effect is also annoying, as that could allow for some effect dodging, if nothing else. Best case scenario, you use set rotation to get a guaranteed 2 tokens, but at that point you'd have been better off using a less costly, more consistent combo. You can leave this card on the side. A shame for the card lineup not to end with a nuclear explosion, but around here we take all we can get. So, what are the strengths of the Black Rose archetype? Well, the overall offensive ability is fairly competent. Given that the main monster of the archetype is a field nuke on wings that the deck focuses on summoning over and over again, this shouldn't really be a surprise. With Ruddy Rose providing graveyard nukes and extra field destruction, Moonlight Dragon providing consistent bouncing, and the various ways to spit them out on both yours and your opponent's turn, Black Rose Dragon can certainly clear the board, and White Rose Cloister helps amp up the stats to keep your damage numbers high, provided you get lucky with the draw. The recovery is also a definite strength of this deck. Again, the strategy of the deck is summon BRD, blow everything up, summon it back, and swing, and they do that strategy pretty well. You have Basal Rose Shoot, White Rose Dragon, Cross Rose Dragon, Blue Rose Dragon, as well as Black Garden. There's definitely ways to get yourself started again if you're in a jam, provided you could get started in the first place. Now for the weaknesses, and sadly there's a little more to discuss here. The deck's versatility is lacking. Often you can bring out Black Rose Dragon on turn 1, but beyond that, you're a little limited in your options. Black Rose Dragon as a deck feels a bit one-trick pony at times, with Ruddy Rose Dragon being the occasional second act. If that sounds silly, considering the archetype is called Black Rose Dragon, Stardust Dragon and Red Dragon Archfiend both have a laundry list of various boss monsters to summon and playstyles to focus on, compared to Black Rose's 3 Synchro Dragons, and I'm only counting archetypal monsters as anything else would be generic support, like Leo for example. Obviously, this is a weakness caused by Akiza's lack of anime presence, unlike the Super Stardust man Yusei and Jack showing up in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. It's not the deck's fault that it lacks variety, it just needs a few more different roses in this garden, you know what I mean? The deck also lacks any sort of protection effect except for the tribute effect of Ruddy Rose Dragon, but given its focus on recovery and self-destruction, this weakness can be hand-waved or at least explained away a little bit. Statistically, the deck doesn't look great, hence why I ditched the usual number ranking today. However, in context, the archetype isn't helpless, it's just a step behind its 5D's brethren at the moment. For additional context, if I was to give it a rating like I did with RDA and Stardust, it would be a 28 out of 50, quite a bit behind the others, held back due to a lack of protection and overall versatility. So, Black Rose Dragon, the last of the 3 main Signer Dragon archetypes from the first half of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, is undoubtedly the weakest of the 3 I've reviewed so far, but that's not really the deck's fault. Yusei and Jack just got so much anime focus and duel time that their arsenals are so much bigger, and even now since the videos were made last year, they've received so many more new cards, while Black Rose is just sitting there waiting for its IV drip of support every year. The deck certainly isn't awful, it's not great either, just rather average altogether, with a tendency for highlight reel field nuke shenanigans. That playstyle will never not be fun, and I adore the theming and visual design of this archetype, so I'd be very happy to see Black Rose Dragon get some more love, as opposed to RDA or Stardust. Give the deck more consistency and a more consistent game plan, and give us more Synchro Dragons, perhaps an XL Synchro or even Majestic Rose Dragon. There's certainly a lot of 5Ds themed ideas you can run with here. It's just up to Konami to take that first step, and I'll be here on day one when they do. Or we can just give RDA another Synchro Dragon boss monster, because that's clearly necessary at this point. Thank you everyone for taking this stroll through the Black Rose Flower Garden with me. Now that we've covered another one of the Cyno Dragon archetypes, it may be a while until the next archetype analysis is ready, but I'm currently making moves behind the scenes to ensure that the videos get better with each release. Though I don't think anything I make is topping Stardust Dragon anytime soon. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more, check out the archetype analysis playlist in the description, or click the end screen coming up in a few moments. If you want to support my channel, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe if you're new, and maybe consider donating to my Patreon if you feel like I've earned it. With all that said, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.